Good morning. Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. So today I'm going to be doing a deep dive character study of the fictional character by Lawrence Block of Matthew Scudder. So Matthew Scudder is a character that Lawrence Block created in his first book he published in 1976, which was the first book in the Matthew Scudder series, which is titled The Sins of Our Father. There is 17 books and a novella in this Matthew Scudder series created by Lawrence Block, and actually has a recent entry into this kind of collection that was published last year, which was the autobiography of Matthew Scudder that Block published, I believe, on around his 84th or 85th birthday. So Scudder books have spanned the course of almost 5 decades, and I've really enjoyed reading them. Of the 17 books and novellas, I have all of them in my collection. I just don't have the autobiography. I'm not sure if I will own that or read that, but time will tell. I am currently through book 15, so I have 2 books and a novella left in this series, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. If you didn't catch my recent review this week, I believe it was this week. It might have been last week. This week's been a blur. But I did a book review on book 15, Hope to Die. By far my favorite book in the series. Really enjoyed it. So who is Matthew Scudder? Matthew Scudder is an ex-NYPD police officer. He spent many years on the force, and he left the force after an incident involving himself where he was at a bar and there was a burglary, and the bar owner was held at gunpoint, and the burglar took cash and fled. And even though he was off duty, he chased after the perp and pulled his gun, and after kind of some back and forth shooting, he took a couple shots at the perp, killed the perpetrator, but one of his bullets, as he said, took a funny hop and ricocheted and killed a little girl. And so after that, he kind of became sort of disinterested in police work and the NYPD, and so he left the force. Upon leaving the force, Scudder decided to take up kind of an interest in PI work. And although for many of the books he's an unlicensed PI, and he eventually gets his PI license, then loses it again, he still does what he calls favors for friends, and they give him gifts, so to speak, when he helps them on different cases. Scudder is a recovering alcoholic. At the time of my finish of book 15, he had over 15 years of sobriety. A lot of the cases and plots around the book, how he gets involved, a lot of them are from people that he's met through AA. A lot of his characters in the stories are very seedy and characters, and not always the most upstanding, but you grow to love them. In particular, Scudder has a couple different friends. One of the most kind of colorful of the characters is his friend Mickey Ballou, who they call the Butcher. He's an Irish Catholic, a hitman. He's infamous, known as the Butcher, because he has this kind of Paul Bunyan story that he once was wronged by someone, and he cut their head off and carried it around in a bowling bag from various bars. And some people say he may or may not have showed him the head, but he would go to the bar and put the bag on top of the bar and sit there and drink and let the mystique kind of grow about himself. Scudder and Mickey have a really interesting relationship, and Mickey's a returning character in the stories. Scudder also has children. In the beginning of the stories and the books, you learn that his ex-wife Anita, and they have 2 children, 2 boys, and he's very kind of distant from them, not really ever present in their lives. Scudder lives in a hotel room which was rent control, which he purchased, and he enjoys kind of his anonymity, being able to come and go as he please, and you kind of pick up that through the books. He does he spends a lot of time going to meetings in AA. As the books progress, the characters envelop as well. TJ is one of my favorite characters. He's this street smart kid that happened to be Matt met on kind of a circumstantial case. He's very prevalent, I believe, in book, I think it's 7 or 8, when the Walk Among the Tombstones, TJ plays a more vital role. And kind of from that point on, we get a lot more TJ. T was very heavily involved in the most recent book, book 15, Hope to Die, and I really enjoyed that. TJ is one of my favorites. There's also Elaine. Elaine was actually a call girl that Scudder used to frequent on his time on the NYPD, and she took clients into her house, and she ends up kind of crossing paths because Scudder was a client of hers. And then during one of the books, there was a case that kind of involved a jealous kind of serial killer type guy that was fixated on Elaine, and Scudder helps her kind of get out of that. She's also very heavily involved in the art scene and is pretty well off. And so her and Scudder develop a relationship, and after a course of time end up getting married, and TJ is under her employ at her art studio, especially after Scudder gifts TJ his apartment or his hotel room, and Elaine and Scudder move in together. Some cool facts, in 1986, Jeff Bridges starred as Scudder in the movie 8 Million Ways to Die, which is book number 5. It was kind of a low budget film. And then in 2014, Liam Neeson played Matthew Scudder in the movie Walk Among the Tombstones, which is book 10. I believe I said it was book 7 or 8 earlier. My apologies. It's book 10. And so that really kind of gave this character and series kind of a little more, kind of put it more on the map. Scudder's just a really aloof guy. He goes through life and kind of gets what he gets. He kind of goes with the flow, but he has this really kind of heavily detective mind and analytical thinking that just makes him kind of an interesting character. He also has a really mean streak, and you don't always see it in the books, but when you do, I really enjoy that. I mean, he's not afraid to pull the trigger. He's not afraid to choke someone out, but at the same time, he is very respectful. He can be very well spoken, and he enjoys art and wine and everything else. So it's interesting. He enjoys good food. He enjoys good company, good conversation, but he could straight sucker punch someone, kidney punch someone, and then twist their neck and walk away and be perfectly fine and go to bed at night. So I find that very interesting as a character. I enjoy probably the side characters as much as I do Scudder, especially when it comes to Elaine, Mickey Ballou, TJ. There's Jim Faber, which was Scudder's longtime AA sponsor, who ends up passing. I was really proud of Block to kill him off. That's something that I always think that more authors ought to do, is I think it really draws readers in. I know it can be very decisive if you have a favorite returning character that you kill off, but Stephen King does that quite a bit, and I think it draws in the audience as a reader. So one of my favorite quotes is in Hope to Die, the most recent book that I've read in all the Scudder books. And there was a conversation going on where Scudder was talking to someone, and he mentioned, you can carry a spoon or carry a bucket. The ocean doesn't care. And I thought that always really stuck with me in terms of Block's writing and his style. He's very articulate and concise, and I really appreciate that. A lot of that stems from the fact that he's been writing for 6 or 7 decades, and his writing, started in erotica and then moved its way to like the hard case crime. And so I really enjoy the tightness of his writing. I also kind of am a sucker for series, as you all know, especially the people that watch my videos are subscribers to the channel, but I like the evolution of characters. I think authors can do a really good job in a 300 to 500 page book of pulling you in and getting you immersed in the worlds and the environment and the plot and the characters somewhat. But when you have a series that spans the course of 5 to 10 to 20 books, you can really become heavily invested. And so I enjoy that when it comes to Scudder. In terms of where you should start reading, this isn't, I mean, you can pick up a book and read in the Scudder series. You can. I personally think if you're willing to make the commitment to read the books and stick them out, I think you should start in book one and go to the beginning with the title with the sins of our fathers, which is book one. I think you'll be better off seeing the evolution of Scudder, especially the first 6 to 8 books are heavily involved around not only murders being kind of like the main plot thread, but there's also the dealing with the sobriety. And I have reviewed some of the books in the past and made mention the fact that I was kind of getting to the point where I was kind of getting over that, so to speak. And I think Block's done a good job with that, turning the corner. Mention it less and less, and kind of, it's kind of like when you get hurt, over time it's going to slowly become less and less painful. And I think that's happened over the course of these books with Scudder and his alcoholism. But in terms of where you should start, I think you should start with book one. You certainly can pick up a book, book 12 or book 10 or whatever, and start. And I think you'll enjoy it. Some of the references and some of the characters and the relationships that they have, and the conversations, you may not pick up on the little nuances as much if you have grown to, or have started in book one and grown with the characters. Some of the books are better than others. You've probably seen some of the reviews. Obviously, again, Hope to Die, book 15 was my favorite so far. There has been books that were less than 4s, some in the mid 3s. Some I didn't enjoy as much as the others, but I have enjoyed this series, and obviously I have. I'm 15 books in, so but yeah, that's where you should start. I think honestly, this character is very dynamic. I think the writing is very good. I think that it's interesting even after 15 books to get the best of the best already. It just shows how good of a writer Block is and how awesome this fictional character is. So that's my video. If you've read any of Lawrence Block's Matthew Scudder books, I would love to hear from you, your comments, how you feel about the books, even if you're not heavily invested as myself. But I think you can't really go wrong when it comes to Matthew Scudder. I think they're short and concise and sweet, and so I highly recommend them. So I know this is a longer video, and it's definitely, I'm enjoying this series and doing my research, and obviously I'm heavily invested in these characters, and I come from a place of reading the books. So I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you're enjoying your Saturday. So I will be talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye.